Good morning, everybody. It's good to see all of you. We're beginning a new time in God's Word together. I preached through in two named series the Gospel of Mark. I did one part last fall, Jesus, man of action, and in the spring I did Jesus, man of suffering, from the Gospel of Mark. And now we've turned from the simplest and shortest Gospel to the most historically complex. I think that John's more theologically complex, but the most historically complex and the longest Gospel, the book of Luke. Now, I'm not going to start in chapter 1, I'm going to start in chapter 5. There's a lot of Christmas stuff there, which I may do at Christmas. And and then Nick did a pretty good job, I think, with chapter 4. And so we're going to begin in chapter 5 as really Jesus' ministry is taking off and it's becoming public. So we begin reading with verse 1 of chapter 5 of Luke's Gospel, and I'll read to the end of verse number 11. One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret. Now, there's a plain or flat area close by the Sea of Galilee. The Romans called the Sea of Galilee the lake of Gennesaret, named after that plain. So when you hear this in Luke's Gospel, Luke is writing to a Roman audience, so he uses Roman terminology, and so the Sea of Galilee is called Lake of Gennesaret. The people were crowding around him and listening to the Word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, we also know him as Peter, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats so full, now both boats so full, that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken, and so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Simon said to Peter, "Don't be afraid. From now on you will fish for people." Now, in the original language, the term there is for living people. You will fish for living people. As opposed to dead fish, you now will get live people. So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him. This is one of those times when the first 2 parts of the text, when you pull out the meaning, they don't really go together, but the third part of the text pulls them together and makes them have meaning. So the first idea, the second idea here, at first won't seem to go together, but they'll all come together in the end. Jesus is a tremendously attractive person. He's irresistible. And if if you've heard me speak over a period of time, this is something I talk about a lot, how attractive Jesus is. He said, "Son of Man will be lifted up," that's on the cross, "and he will draw all men to himself." I believe that Jesus calls everybody. I believe he's attractive to everybody. I believe he's irresistible. And you can see it here. Scholars believe by this time that the crowds following Jesus probably numbered around 50,000 people, which was a significant portion of all the population of ancient Judea and Galilee, Palestine. So you see, our Lord was teaching and preaching and doing what he was doing, and people were coming to him because, are you listening now? His message was strong. He said in chapter 4, the synagogue in Nazareth, "I have come to preach good news to the poor, to proclaim release to the captive, to bring back sight for the blind, to help those who can't walk to walk." And he was speaking not physically, but spiritually, for those of us who are spiritually blind. People heard that message, and when he gave it, it seemed as if he was speaking with authority. They were used to preachers kind of like me, talking about things they haven't themselves experienced. I mean, I didn't live back in the day of Jesus. I talk about Jesus. I know him from Scripture. The rabbis who spoke, they talked about things they hadn't really experienced. But Jesus talked about as if he was someone who had been there when it happened. Are you getting this? So he spoke with authority. Then as chapter 4 unfolds, he drives out a demon from a man who's been terribly troubled by this demon. He heals a woman who, by the way, happens to be Simon Peter's mother-in-law, which Simon Peter had problems with at first. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Thank you so much. And the word of that miracle spread. He said, I have to keep on doing what I'm doing. Don't hold on to me. Don't stop me from my work. I have to preach in many places, in many synagogues, and many people. And they were hearing it. And as they heard about the miracles and heard about the teaching, it drew them out. So people came out in great numbers, so great that Jesus could not stand on the seashore and preach to them. He had to get in the boat and go out into the water in order to have room to be able to speak. Our Lord Jesus is attractive. He's irresistible. And once you see Jesus, you're drawn to Him. Once you see Jesus, He's overwhelmingly attractive, and you can't resist Him. And so what I think is that the church ought to hold up Jesus. We ought to talk about Jesus. What Paul said to the Corinthian church was this, that when I was with you, I knew nothing but Jesus Christ and Him crucified. So Paul was saying my messages, my sermons, my teaching were all about not what I thought, what I wanted, my desires. They were about Jesus. And the reason you Corinthians have come into the church is because you were attracted by this irresistible man. Now, for some reason, we have, in these modern days, thought that, well, we love Jesus, but He needs some help. And so we don't hold Him up anymore. We try to attract people with programs that are exciting. We preachers, we wear skinny jeans and muscle shirts that cover ourselves with tattoos. Now, I can rock some skinny jeans, so I've been thinking about trying it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing trying to put the gospel in terms that people can understand. I'm not criticizing those men who in certain places try to reach people where they are on their level. I'm not criticizing that. I'm trying to say that what happens is that we sometimes think that it's the method that reaches the people, how we dress and what we're like, and not Jesus. A few years ago, our Catholic brothers and sisters chose a new pope, Pope Francis. Now, again, this is not criticism. And when Pope Francis was chosen, I remember hearing people say, he's a man of the people. He's a common man. He has a common touch. And this is going to change Catholicism. It's going to bring the people in. Of course, the Pope has been a controversial figure. He's said a lot of things that some people, some Catholics don't agree with. And so for everyone he's drawn, he's probably pushed one away. I was listening to the news this morning, and they reported on a new poll which shows that people leaving the Catholic Church in tremendous numbers. And that's not Pope Francis's fault. But here's the problem. You cannot replace Jesus with a man or a program or a method. He's the one that's irresistible and overwhelmingly attractive. Now, a few years ago, 2012, in a church in Spain, Borja, Spain, there's a painting done by Elias Garcia Martinez, a great 20th century artist. This painting is of Jesus, and he named it Ecce Homo, which is the Latin term for what Pilate said when he presented Jesus to the crowd. He said, behold the man. So Ecce Homo means behold the man. Now, Martinez's granddaughter, decided to donate the painting to the people of Spain. Now, it would stay in the church in Borja, Spain, but she wanted it to belong to all of Spain, not just to her and her family. And so the Spanish government had a great ceremony. They went there to see the painting. And when they got there, they found out that the painting had been horribly changed. Now, here's what happened. We're going to show the painting right now. It's going to come up. There it is, Ecce Homo. You see it needs to be restored, right? It's got some problems. It's painted on plaster, so it's been peeling off. And so although it was being donated, it needed to be restored. Unknown to to Martinez's granddaughter, unknown to the government of Spain, unknown to anybody, a wealthy woman who was a member of this church in Borges, Spain, decided as an amateur artist she was going to restore the painting without telling anybody. Now I want to show you her restoration. Don't show it yet. It's all right to laugh. Okay? Here it is. What she did basically was completely erase the painting and put her own in its place. And it's horrible. One art critic said, it looks kind of like Mr. Potato Head. And I can see the resemblance. And so what she thought was that, the name was Cecilia, by the way, Cecilia Jimenez. What she thought was that she could make it look better. She could make it look more attractive. She could restore it. She could put her Jesus in place of the one who was there. But of course, she doesn't know how to do Jesus, and so the Jesus she came up with wasn't very attractive. Now, you're not going to believe this, but this botched restoration has become tremendously popular. Since 2012, when she did it, close to 4 million people have gone to this church. You're not laughing. In Borges, Spain, so they can see this. You see, even when Jesus is kind of obliterated, he's still attractive. And you're not going to believe this either. The woman, Cecilia Jimenez, is demanding royalties for all the people who have come to see it. Yeah, I did it. You should pay me something. Pay her to leave town. You guys aren't laughing as much as I thought you would. I thought you'd laugh more about this. See, even when Jesus' face is obliterated, he's still attractive. Now, my wife and I just drove back from Florida. We drove along 85, coming back from Atlanta, really. And we passed by, I don't know how many churches that are close by the interstate. And, many of them are smaller country churches, some of them are larger. And we saw things like this on the signs. Old-fashioned Bible preaching. Now, of course, I believe in the Bible and I believe in preaching. But I turned to Debbie and said, I'm not sure how that's going to pull them in. One church had on the front of it, premillennial, dispensational, King James only. Most folks don't even know what that means. Yeah, that's going to bring them in. I have heard Christians and Christian movements say the ugliest, most judgmental, racist things about people. Many of us get on Facebook and we vent our spleen about all kinds of issues and feelings and thoughts that we have, even though people know us to be Christians, and we think that this is going to attract people. What we're doing is we're taking the face of Jesus, His attractiveness, and we're erasing it ourselves. Don't be so hard on Cecilia. We're doing the same thing. We should always be aware that if people know us to be Christians, they will watch our movements, they'll listen to our words. Listen, I have very strong political thoughts, but you'll never hear me talk about them from the pulpit. Because you see, we're here for everybody. To hold Jesus up and let Jesus be the attractive person that He is. Now, the next idea, that goes with the first one at all, let me just bring it out, that Jesus challenges us to go outside of where we're comfortable into some very difficult things, to try some very difficult things, to trust His Word and His teaching, and to do things we've never done before. Now, before I go on, let me say that we should not take biblical texts and try to find secret meanings inside of them. Now, if you want to know the scholarly term for that, it's called allegorizing the text. An allegory is a story where every element in the story has some deep meaning. We should take Scripture as being historical and take it at face value. But sometimes the Scripture writer himself will see a deep meaning, something Jesus does or something's taught or done in Scripture historically, and he'll point us to that. And so I believe it's very significant here when Luke says that Jesus said to Peter, go out into deep water. That's not where they usually fished, was deep water. They fished in the shallows areas where the nets would work better. Fishermen knew how to do their job. But here's a carpenter from Nazareth telling a master fisherman how to fish. It's kind of like going into the automobile repair shop and telling a mechanic how to fix your car. Or as you're getting ready to go into surgery, tell your brain surgeon how to operate on your brain. Or going up to your pastor and telling him how to preach. I'm sorry I brought that up. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And so, here's this carpenter from Nazareth telling Peter how to fish. And he says, go out of the deep water. Well, Peter says, listen, Jesus, we've been fishing all night. We haven't caught anything. And he's probably speaking under his breath. If you really knew fishing, you would know we're not supposed to go out into the deep water. We're supposed to fish close to the seashore. That's where the fish are. But he says, because you say so, Jesus. Are you getting this? Because you say so, Jesus, I will do it. And so Peter went out in the deep water. I think that Luke is seeing here a deeper spiritual meaning, that Jesus pushes us in the areas we're not comfortable with. He takes us places we've never been before. He puts us, are you getting this, into the deep water. Now, I believe that the first step of discipleship is not obedience, although you see it here with Peter. It's admitting that you don't know how to run your life. It's admitting that you don't know what to do. It's looking for spiritual help where you never have been able to find the solution in life. You seek spiritual help from God to be able to find that meaning, find that purpose, find that solution. The first step in discipleship is saying, I don't know. And I believe Peter was saying, I've been trying it my way, and because you say so, Jesus, I'll try it your way. Are you getting this? And so, he takes a second step. He's obedient. And Peter was many things. He was ornery. That's a good word, isn't it? Don't hear it much anymore. He was difficult. He was impetuous. He was angry. But one thing he was, above everything else, was he was obedient. And so when Jesus told him to do something, he would do it. So I don't know how to do what I'm doing. I'm not running my life well, so I'll be obedient because you say so, Master, I will set out. Now, all of us have a deep water that Jesus pushed us to. I don't know what yours is. I don't know where Jesus is pushing you. I don't know what Jesus is wanting you to do. But I know you have it. And you need to stop being afraid and stop holding back. You need to go and do what Jesus wants you to do. And for our church, all of us together. And we've been talking about this in the weeks before I left. We've been talking about the challenges that God has for our church and the dreams that God wants us to dream and the things He wants us to do. And the things He wants us to do will require our stepping out where we've never stepped before into the deep water. Now, when I was a kid, first come to Christ when I was 16, I would go to revivals. We have an evangelist come in. We don't do that much anymore, but evangelists come in for the revival. And of course, we have a hymn we used to sing, standing on the promises of God. Standing on the promises of God. Anyway, the evangelists come in, and almost everyone did the same thing. Are you standing on the promises or resting on the premises? Now, when I say that at the crossover, they're going to go. And listen, I talk to crossover about you too, so it works both ways. So the idea was, that we were being challenged. Are you standing on the promises, believing what God is saying, or are you just sitting around the premises, the church, and doing nothing? But the fact of the matter is that the Church of God in America in the last 100 years have been sitting on the premises and not taking the challenge of God to move further out and do more. Now, I just got back from Disney, and if you've been to Disney, if you've been to Magic Kingdom, you know this. If you haven't, I'll try to describe it to you. But there's a rest area in Fantasyland, right in the middle of the Magic Kingdom, called the Tangled Rest Area. I'm going to ask you about, see if you've been there. Now, how many of you have been to the Tangled Rest Area? I see a handful of people been there, okay. And what Disney did about 5 years ago was that based on the movie Tangled about Rapunzel, which was a big hit, by the way, if you remember this, okay, a big hit, that they had built this rest area right in the middle based on the theme of the movie. So they put these beautiful big trees up. They have places all over the place to sit down. You can charge your phone. Now, if you remember in the movie, Rapunzel uses cast iron skillets to beat Flynn Rider up. She just beats the tar of this guy. And so if you go in the men's restroom, which is gigantic, it's the biggest restroom I've ever seen. It's like the foyer of our church. There are cast iron skillets all over the restroom, keeping with the theme, you know. And I love the Tangled Rest Area. Because even when it's really hot, you can go and sit down and you can rest, charge your phone, get some water, and recharge. I've sat there for an hour before. It's also a great place to watch people. Watch them walk by. What's happened is a lot of us have heard, "Come on to me, all you who are weak and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." We've heard that, and we've come in and said, "Okay, I'm here, let's rest." Like the church has become one gigantic tangled rest area. We're all sitting around being ministered to by Jesus. He's binding our wounds. We go, that's so great. When we're saved, yes, there's rest. Then we get up from our rest and we move out into the deep water. Now, I think this brings it all together. He challenges his disciples for their deep water. He says, you've been fishing for fish. Now, I want you to get the picture. Again, there's a deeper spiritual meaning here. They catch a catch of fish that is so large they can't pull it into the boat. And when the other boat comes over with James and John and they bring the fish into two boats, both boats are threatening to sink. And Jesus says, you've been fishing for dead fish, because by definition, when you get a fish out of the water, put it in your boat, he's dead. But I want you to fish now for live people. So we have been called by Jesus to be fishers of men, to take the attractive, beautiful, wonderful Lord Jesus and hold Him up in the world so people can come to Him, be saved by Him, have their lives changed by Him, have their lives be used by Him in the deep water. So what you've been called to do, what we've been called to do is to fish for live people, to bring them in. And that's really what the church is all about. That's what we are all about, is bringing in people, seeing their lives changed. That's our deep water. That's where Jesus wants us to go. When Jesus calls you, I want you to imagine now, it's not me up here preaching. I want you to see Jesus standing here. And He's saying, come. Saying to you personally, come, follow me. I'll make you a fisher of men. I want you to hear Him speaking to you directly, calling you personally. And when Jesus speaks to you directly and calls you personally, what do you say? You say yes. And I want you to see how complete and total their response was. Remember, the first step is recognizing you don't know how to run your life. The second step is obedience, do what He says. And then they show you the third step. They left everything and followed Him. Now, for example, Peter had a successful fishing business. He had a house. He owned a house. He had a family. He had a mother-in-law. And he left everything and followed Jesus. Now, he still had his fishing business. He still had his house. Jesus is not not most likely asking you to go to South America to some invisible tribe and live in a hut and never see your family again. He's not asking that. He's asking you in your spirit, with your heart, to put everything that you have and are in second place and only follow Him. So when He calls, you say what? Yes. Yes. And I want you to recognize how short life is, how small the opportunities are, and when one comes up, you better respond to it. Now, we stayed the last few days each year at one of Disney's nice hotels. So we moved. This time we moved 3 times. Not at Disney, 3 different hotels. And last year, when the vacation was over, I was waiting for Debbie, and I went out on the very large porch of this nice hotel. Beautiful landscaping, lake in the distance. And I sat there and I enjoyed those last few moments, thought about the vacation, thought about the things we'd done, and I just relaxed and enjoyed it. And then it was time to go. And this year, I went back to the exact same chair the last day while I was waiting for Debbie, and sat in the exact same place and drank my cherry Coke and looked out at the lovely landscaping, at the lake in the distance, and beautiful, beautiful. And it was almost exactly 1 year to the day. In that year, I lost one of the joys of my life. Last year, when I was sitting in that chair, I did not know that Sarah was pregnant. And so I had another joy added to my life. Last year, I was sitting in that chair, I did not know I almost would lose my life. What a year it's been. To lose so much, to gain so much, and to almost lose everything in just 1 year. And where you're sitting right now, and you look for the next 365 days, or how many days now in the future you have to live, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. And so when Jesus calls you and wants to use your life and this church, as we serve God together, this church's life. Life is too short to say no. It's too short to sit and rest. So when He calls you, you say yes. And when He challenges you to move out in places you've never gone before, do things you've never done before, you trust that He knows best what's best for you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I pray that we will believe in the attractiveness of Jesus and not try to put anything in the way. Our own opinions, our own personality, the things we say or do. Not methods, not programs, not style, but just Jesus. And we pray that along that way, we will take up the challenge to go into places and do things we've never done before. So that we together, as we as a church, can be fishers of live people. Now I pray for those here who have not yet said yes to Jesus, to follow Him as Savior. For those who have not yet said yes to Jesus, to follow Him as a member of this church. For those who have not said yes to Jesus about something that you're calling them to do, I pray that now will be a time when people will say yes. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.